Going back to your answer, which I like very much, I'm a big fan of this reciprocity concept in China and in the extended family. But I would still like to go back a little bit for the recruiting and finding the right talent. What kind of issues have you faced, Sam, when screening and trying to find the right talent, the entrepreneurs and the technical know-how all in combined for in a one package?
I think the biggest challenge that we have got is that our concept of doing maintenance in China, but also in other parts of the world, is not very common. And what I mean by that is that usually maintenance is treated as a cost center somewhere in the bottom of the hierarchy, and it's like a necessary evil for operations. And we look at it very, very differently from a profit center point of view. And what I mean by that is ensuring that we can improve our outputs and the factory outputs, and through that demonstrate our value and actually give more value back than what we cost. And then when we talk about the challenges of hiring people for those kind of positions, geographic challenges are always there. In remote regions in China, it is not so easy to find talent that is, let's say, multi-skilled. You can find a specialist on something and so on, but the biggest challenge is still relating to the entrepreneurial side because of this history and the general approach to maintenance within the industries. People don't think as themselves as valuable assets to a business. They think that they have to be and just do something. And to foster that kind of culture and to promote this kind of value thinking and understanding is a very big challenge. Then once you do have candidates on the table, the CVs, etc., then to go through that, there also needs to be a lot of background checking work going on there, because we have seen on many occasions that the CVs are not even correct. They are simply wrong information, and then talking to the person, usually we can screen it out rather early in the process that something is not adding up here. But the biggest challenge is definitely geography and then the entrepreneurial side of being like multi-skilled, taking challenges and turning them into opportunities. This type of thinking in the general maintenance business, because it is, like I said, treated as quite a low-level function in organizations typically.
I know QUANT, and I would say that you are very innovative from the perspective how do you look at the maintenance as it's a more like a profit center, very entrepreneurial idea and attitude. So I would also say emphasize on the communication and understanding the technical background and how to drive up the profitability during the recruitment.
Exactly, and that is one of the things in our interviews. We have various stakeholders in our business interviewing individuals, and the reason we are doing that is we don't want a very one-sided view to any position, because that is by default not driving the entrepreneurial and open-minded thinking out of the box approach. So we have our HR, we have different people in operations interviewing the same individual for a certain job, and everyone gives their input from their perspective in our business, and I think that builds quite a good overall picture of what type of candidate we have in front of us, and more importantly, is this person with the attitude combined with the technical skills, is that a fit for us?
Talking about multiple stakeholders during the recruiting process, based on my experience, QUANT still delivers in a relatively prompt and the speed is always an important piece. I mean, just to make an understanding, you still, even you have the multiple discussions, they are still going relatively quickly, I would say.
Yes, and that is a necessity from the point of view as well, that just because you have multiple stakeholders cannot be an excuse of slowing something down. And that's where the communication, the leadership, and everything comes into play, that it needs to move. Things happen regardless of we are here or not. This is the kind of thing that has to go on and move along. So the speed in our processes is very important, not only for recruitment and HR, but in general in our business. We have to be agile. Like I said, we have dynamic situations on our sites by default. So if we just take time and ponder things and not do, it doesn't really support our business.
We talked about a lot where we are as of today. How do you see the maintenance business is going to develop for the, let's say, for the next 3 years from your perspective as an industry expert?
Well, service in general is a very rapidly growing industry sector. Where it comes to maintenance as such, it is the same thing. The demands go up as the interface between humans and machines become more and more on the surface. You are not anymore having a bunch of subsystems. Everything nowadays is connected, and the people have to be also connected in a very efficient and smooth way to be able to achieve the efficiencies and productivity goals that are being set. So I think the development is going to be rapid, continue to be rapid, and tapping into that in the right way and getting the customers' trust in delivering this type of business and going forward, I think for us is of course a natural next step, which is happening already and has been happening for quite some time. And that's where our digitalization and these types of approaches come in, I think, very well, and they encompass the whole situation on a site, not only from a maintenance point of view and not only from a dollar per ton point of view or cost per unit or something like that. It's taking everything into account, and data is available. It's, I think, our biggest job and challenge will be in filtering that data and making sure that we use the relevant data points, because otherwise people will drown in data. And that is for me the key focus going forward. But definitely the market is there. It's growing, and also in China it is growing. The growth is not as big as it has been 10 years ago, but it is still big, and a lot of new factories are being built, driven by legislative aspects from the China government side. Environmental policies are being tightened, and which is all a very positive thing from a technology point of view, because it forces everyone to move up in the value chain. And I think that's good for us, it's good for the people, it's good for the whole world when this type of development happens. And to have it sustainable and keep ahead of the game is the place we need to continue to be.
Thank you, Sam, for being here today.
Thank you, Henry, for having me. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We have a lot of good leaders coming on the lineup, Let the Leaders Talk, here in China. And if you have any questions for Sam or for me, drop me a PM and I'll reply to you.